Hey guys, got a brief little video to make here, try to get through it as best as I can and as structured as I can, so I'm just going to get fired right into it. Reacting to his own down the rabbit hole video, I actually can understand why this is a perfectly reasonable thing for DSP to finally do. We can assume how it's going to go, because he's fucking covered some of these things in the past, but considering the subject matter is about DSP, then he can react to it, in my opinion. Even if I didn't get permission from Frederick, it would still be a reasonable thing for him to react to, and I give Phil props for actually reaching out to Frederick, who made the video in the first place, and asking for permission to react to it. That's when my generosity comes to an end though. Well, it makes perfect sense for Phil to react to his own subject matter in a video. He turns into one of the biggest hypocrites on YouTube reacting to content relating to anyone else. For years he's absolutely slaughtered what react content is, and for the most part it is something I had agreed with Phil. It is easy, lazy videos, usually made by people who don't actually have much of an authority on a subject matter to have a video they're reacting to. It was one of the few things that when Phil went off at the time, when it went off at these guys, I was inclined to agree with him. He was completely right in what he was saying usually. All that completely undone with his 180 on his stance purely for financial gain. So while I'm turning to Phil, let's discuss one simple thing. Why did people like me continue to slaughter him? Well, for me personally, I can't speak for anyone else. For me, I'm just in disbelief his constant lying has yielded no real negatives from his own fan base. I'm going to back up, but don't worry, I've got a list. I'm prepared for this, So, what has Phil lied about to everyone before? The small things like refusing to make a fan Discord due to not owning Discord, despite this being proven as a lie in a screenshot of his desktop not long afterwards. This Discord was kept relatively secret, and at the time it was speculated into what Phil would use it for. After all, he was still on Twitch at the time, and he had methods on there to talk to his own mods, for example, so it wasn't for that purpose at that time. Looking back on it now, it was likely either to discuss things with his Twitch partner or for WWE Champion stuff. But lying about owning Discord when he showed himself as having it, just be honest with your fans, Phil, and just say nope, you don't care about talking to them on Discord, outside of streams. Just be honest. Another small weird lie was his busted back on how he needed to move to Seattle so he could get surgery for it, and so Leanne could nurse him back to full health. This was one of the biggest reasons Phil touted as to why he had to move out from his small condo in Connecticut. The place was apparently too small for both him and Leanna, so he couldn't nurse him back to health there. He's told various different stories as to how his back got so messed up, from being in a car accident to hurting it playing touch football, and it's hard to know where the truth is in all of this. But don't worry, once he got settled in Seattle in his new home, the Seattle air cured his busted back and no surgery was required after all. Kinda smells funky, don't it? While I believe he does have back issues, his constant changing stories makes me feel that he's not actually been honest as to how this actually happened. Let's take a more recent example now. He lied his ass off about using guides for Elden Ring. This is a bit of a slam dunk, to be honest. Despite his many protestations that he's not using a guide, in his own Discord he has of his mods a leaked screenshot showed a category labelled Elden Ring Library, which is the only category that had been updated as of the screenshot. Anytime he gets near a boss at the end of a stream, he'll do terribly with it, he'll get his arse kicked, then he'll just come back the next stream with a brand new tactic out of nowhere and somehow knows how to defeat the boss and claim he fucking knows how to play the game very well. Phil's acting was never that good. For those that have watched Project 7, you know what I'm talking about. Phil clearly has utilised guides to help him in this game that he's still not yet finished as of this video, despite being massively overleveled as he stalls as much as possible. The next lie on my wee list here is the Adsense suspension. For years, us detractors have said that Phil asked people to click on ads, and Google suspended his Adsense account due to this. I've since had time to reflect on Phil's own testimony about this and reconsidered it as possible that while Google failed to act at the time in what should have been a punishable offence against Phil, they acted at a later date, roughly a year later, when Phil made a bizarre drunken shower video which gained him a lot of money, and Google essentially backdated this breach in their terms of service as to why they were suspending his Adsense. This happened so very long ago that it's hard to properly put all the pieces together, but the fact of the matter is that Phil, during his face reveal video, broke the terms of service of Adsense and should have been instantly punished for it. The fact that he got away with it for so long, likely due to not making a huge amount of money at the time for it to have gained attention, is irrelevant. He still got away with breaking the terms of service, and he was eventually punished for this about a year or so later. Phil constantly claims he has never got into trouble for telling people to click on ads. I'm inclined to disagree, even though Google did wait as long as it did to suspend his Adsense account. Let's go into some bigger lies now. He lied about owning a goddamn cat. He purposefully withheld that information until he was given $1,000 from his fans to reveal to people he'd owned a cat for a few months at that point in time. No wonder he loves Jasper so much. The cat bagged him $2,000 in a single night. Phil, crying poor at this point in time, as he so often does, sent some mixed signals when he could suddenly afford to maintain a house cat as well. The cat was meant to be a regular mascot for the streams, but doesn't show up much, and when it does, Phil usually gets annoyed about being in the way. The cat starved for attention, and Phil simply won't give him any. I guess Jasper's outlived his usefulness to Phil. I can only assume that he's since spent more than $2,000 on cat food and treats, and therefore is no longer a profitable tool for his content. Let's get into an even bigger lie now. He's lied about his relationships. He proposed to Liana only for him to secretly break up about a week or so later. He kept that quiet due to being concerned how it would look to, his fans. But in between then, there was incidents like Liana having to go to the hospital for a panic attack, and Phil's rather unhinged story about how if it happens again, they're not allowed to take Liana to the hospital, just give her a pill. You know the story, I'm sure. So not only did he lie that they were apparently not a couple anymore at that point, this guy also lied about sneaking into the DMs of some Midwest fan called Cat After Us, who was seeing some man who owned a Subaru, and secretly he flew her out for a wee cheeky weekend at his place without admitting to his fans he was actually seeing someone. At this stage, they couldn't actually be an official couple, not only due to her not living in the area, but due to the fact that she was living with another man. This secrecy almost backfired for Phil, as he was targeted by a random scammer pretending to be an escort, who were attempting to blackmail Phil. It's crazy. Kiwi Farms, after initially being deceived into believing this with such evidence like seeing the non-disclosure agreement, soon uncovered the truth of the situation. And this was a rare instance when Kiwi Farms saved Phil Burnell from being blackmailed. Well, it seems a bit of a stretch to label it like that. There's no way Phil was actually going to be paying anything to anyone, so he likely felt safe enough to not have to bother with it. With the escort saga out of the way, Phil claimed he needed a huge financial push from his fans to #save the house, but this money was then used to move Kat in with him. There's an even bigger lie though from that. He lied about getting married. He took Kat to visit his parents, who apparently paid for a small budget wedding so they could witness this in person. Phil claims secrecy was vital in case someone tried to derail the wedding in some capacity. I personally would have been shocked if a detractor had done this. It takes a special kind of fucked up person to ruin what is one of the happiest days of someone's life, even if that someone is a piece of shit like Phil. For me though, the biggest lie of them all though, the granddaddy lie of them all, is him lying about money. This one's a bit messy and convoluted because it ties in with the bank leak stuff as well as WWE champions and all that other stuff. He refuses to accept the bank leaks are genuine despite his account being frozen due to so many people accessing it to listen to his transactional information. But accepting and admitting the bank leaks are genuine, which they clearly are, would mean he would have to answer one very simple question. What were all those microtransactions about, particularly the iTunes ones, which added up to $32,167.09 spent in between the 1st of May 2020 and the 17th of September 2021? Phil's content does not utilise microtransactions whatsoever, and particularly not relating to iTunes either. He has very, very rarely dabbled with this in his content, but also things like opening packs on Overwatch and shit, but he very rarely dabbles in microtransactions. Phil has no plausible explanation for this, at least not in which he'll look innocent, so his only course of action is to brazenly lie about the bank leaks being genuine, despite the fact that his account was actually frozen, and he admitted this due to so many people gaining access to hearing his historical transactional details. I mean, if Phil didn't lie about this, it would kind of burn a lot of bridges for him. He's been accused of whaling in WWE champions, and this is extremely powerful evidence that he has blown a ton of money into, something relating to iTunes, which is how spending money in mobile gaming shows up on your transactions. We can safely assume Phil ain't buying Little Mix albums again and again after all. Phil lies a lot. It baffles me why he lies about some of the things he lies about, but the fact is he's a serial liar, and so I can't help but point these lies out. Some of them seem to get forgotten about with time. His fans are especially quick to fucking forget, But many of his former fans tend to end up seeing the light in some capacity and figure out through their own means that Phil likely lies more than he should be. There's been many former fans who simply go off Phil as they cannot handle his lying. As long as there are eyes to open for people, dafties like me will make videos like this to remind people of Phil's many lies he tells for getting as much money out of people as possible. He is, simply put, a con man, often preying on the mentally handicapped purely for financial gain to sustain not only a way to live, but a way to live in excess. Well, it's been kind, Jad. Hope you enjoyed a few random video. Peace out.